we've looked at things like numbers and whole numbers. And if we're looking at just the definition of what numbers are, when we look at numbers, numbers are used to say how many objects there are in a collection. For example, how many desks you have in your classroom. So for this purpose, we use counting numbers. So we would say there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 20, 25, 30 desks in your classroom. Okay, your desks are whole, so they're actual full numbers. Numbers are also used to describe size. So for example, the length of objects. For this purpose, we need more than counting numbers. So we would also need some fractions. So if we're measuring size, okay, and we're measuring the length of things, well, if I had to measure my pen, for example, I would use my ruler and I would probably get that my pen is about 16,7 centimeters. All right, or maybe 16.5 centimeters. So I wouldn't then be using my whole numbers, I would be using fractions and decimals. With a view to have numbers that can serve more purposes than counting and measurements, okay, mathematicians have decided to also think of another kind of numbers, which are integers. So instead of just using numbers to count or to measure things, they also came up with another kind of numbers, another definition for numbers, and that was integers. So what are integers? Integers include the natural numbers, but for each natural number, for example, 24, there is also a number called its additive inverse. So that's a really fancy way to say the opposites. So in other words, if I have the number 24, what's it going to be its additive inverse, its opposite, the fancy way of saying opposite? Okay, the opposite of saying 24 is going to be negative 24. When you add a number to its additive inverse, so when you add a number and its opposite, right, the answer will be 0. So when you say 24 plus negative 24, it's going to give you 0. We can say that integers are whole numbers and their opposites. An integer can be any one of the following numbers. It can be -4, -3, -2, 0, -1, 2, 3, 4. So integers can be negative numbers, 0, and positive numbers. All right. When we're looking at our integers, it's always good for us to look at what we call a number line. So any number, right, that lies to the left of 0. So on my number line, let's get our pen out here. All right. And we're going to have a look at the highlighting colors today. So here is our pen. And we're hoping that our highlighter is going to work nicely for us today. All right, so here is our 0. If we're going to the left of 0, what can we see? We can see that all the numbers on the left are negative numbers. If we go to the right of 0, just like we've always seen from the time we started counting, we see that all the numbers to the right of 0 are our positive numbers. Okay, so if we have to have a look at questions that they could ask us, they could say to us, all right, write an integer to represent each situation. So remember, before you answer the questions, you've got to say to yourself, what are integers? Integers can be negative numbers, 0, or positive numbers. just because they say the word integer, integer does not mean that it's only negative numbers. Okay, so don't forget that, everybody. Integers does not mean that it's only negative numbers. So write an integer to represent each situation. Right, 10 degrees. So in the chat, all right, who can tell me 10 degrees? Is 10 degrees going to be positive? So you can put a plus or a minus. 10 degrees. Is 10 degrees going to be a plus or is it going to be a minus? Who's going to tell us? A plus. Good. Well done, guys. It's going to be a plus. So if I had to draw 10 degrees, I'm going to say 10, and I'm going to put my degree sign. Very nice. Well done. It's a plus. All right. Next question, B. A loss of 16 Rand. So a loss, what does it mean if I lose something? It means what's happening. It's actually a negative thing, hey? So am I going to get a plus or a minus? Good. Well done, everybody. A loss, so a minus of 16 Rand. I must remember to put my Rand sign, and I've got 16. Okay, question C, a gain of 5 points. So if I have a gain of 5 points, if I'm gaining something, is that going to be a positive or a negative? The word gain, what does gain mean? Good, it means a positive 5 points. So do I have to put the plus sign there? I can if I wanted to. I could say plus 5 points. Okay. Or do I have to put the plus sign there? I don't have to put the plus sign there, hey? So I can just write 5 points. Right. 8 steps, and we must always make sure we read the full question. 8 steps backward. 8 steps backward. If I'm going backwards, is that positive or is that negative? If I'm going backwards, good, I'm seeing minus. So negative 8. Very nice, well done. And finally, the opposite of 7. The opposite of 7, the opposite of 7 is going to be negative 7. Right, well done, everybody. You handled those really well. Congratulations. Okay, right. Have a look at question 2 for me. I see I had some numbers raised. Go ahead and fill those out on your paper first. So we're going to disable the chat while you're filling those out, and I'm going to answer some questions where people had their hands raised. So I've got to see Bepe. Have you got a question for me? You unmuted? Tiso? Tiso, have you got a question for me? No, okay. Letu?
You hear me?
Hi, Letu. Yes, I can hear you. What's your question?
Ma'am, the boot camp, what are we doing?
Pardon me,
The boot camp or camp
the
something?
boot camp. You're doing exam revision, Letu. So it's for exam revision.
Okay, miss.
Okay, so preparing for your mid-year tests and exams. Okay, thank you, Letu. All right, Offense, you are unmuted.
Ma'am, with integers and the positive and negative, do we have to write the plus and the minus in front of the number?
So Offense, you don't have to write the plus, but you would have to write the negative. Okay, so you do have to write the negative.
And also with if it's a negative and there's a positive number next to it, how do we see if it's a minus or a negative?
Okay, we're going to have a look at that. I promise it's coming up next. All right, so in our lesson on Wednesday, we're going to have a look at adding and subtracting, or we're going to look at adding integers. So that's going to be our next lesson, I promise. Okay. All right, I'm answering 2 more questions and then we're going to get back to our chat. So, Vija?
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear
Hi,
me?
how can I help? Yes, I can hear you.
So I came a bit late and I'm kind
Okay.
of confused. Can you please quickly explain to me?
Okay, we're doing integers. So I would suggest that if you missed the first part of the lesson, that you go back and have a look, but we haven't done much yet. We're just going through integers. So integers are negative numbers, 0 and positive numbers. Okay, so we're just going through the lesson. So just follow along as best you can. And if you're really confused, what you can do is you can watch the video at the end of the lesson as well. It will be recorded on video. Okay.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. All right, Tara Jane, how can I help? Hi.
I'm very confused on what an integers actually are. Is it like a naming system for positive and negative?
Exactly,
Oh.
Tara Jane. It's just a naming system for negative numbers, 0 and positive numbers.
Okay, thank you.
But they have to be whole numbers, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, so we are going to continue on and I will answer some more questions a bit later on. All right, so we should have had a look at what we were answering here. So we had to name the opposite of each integer. So let's go through it quickly. All right, so for 9, the answer will be negative 9. Good, I'm seeing lots of answers in the chat. Well done, everybody. For 3, the answer would be positive 3. Good, and you can put a plus there if you want to. You don't have to put a plus there. For positive 4, the answer would be negative 4. For negative 101, its additive inverse, or its opposite, would be positive 101. And for positive 1,234, it would be negative 1,234. All right, so that's looking at our opposites, or the fancy word to say it, our additive inverses. Now let's have a look at putting it onto a number line. All right, so our first number line says to us, complete all the missing numbers that are on the number line. So complete all the missing numbers on the number line. So if I'm looking at this number line, all right, I can see that I've got a 0. So I'm going to go highlight my 0. And so I know that all the numbers to the left of the 0 will be negative, and all the numbers to the right of the 0 are going to be positive. All right. I can see that they've given me a negative 4, and they've given me the number 11. So I always want to be careful with my number lines. I want to make sure that they haven't gone up in some strange, weird numbers. All right, so let's go check this 11 first. So if I go to 11, I'm counting 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Look at that. They've made it nice and easy for me. They made my life nice and easy. They went up in ones. So I can go and I can fill that in. Nice and simple. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then I have 11. Now I need to go and fill in my negative numbers. Okay, so those were nice and easy. 0 to 11, nice and easy. I've been doing numbers on a number line since I was in grade 1. I'm all good. I know how to put numbers on a number line, hey? But we've never put negative numbers on a number line before, so that should be new to everybody. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just take a few minutes. Don't tell yourself you're confused yet because we haven't actually done anything, all right? So take a breath, right? Have a look at your page and let's see what we're going to do. Okay, remember that we need to do the opposite of what we did on the right side. So on the left side, we're going to do the opposites. Okay. So let's have a look if we do the opposites. All right. So if we had a look at 0, there was my 0. On the right side of the 0, we put a 1. So that means that on the left side of the 0, what am I going to put? I'm going to put a negative 1. On the right side of the 0, I said 0, 1, 2. So on the left side of the 0, what am I going to say? I'm going to say 0, negative 1, negative 2. Okay. If we go again and we check the right side, I had 0, 1, 2, 3. So that was on the right side. Let's check the left side. 0, negative 1, which is the opposite of 1, negative 2, which is the opposite of 2. So what's my next number going to be? It's going to be the opposite of 3. And the opposite of 3 is negative 3. And then what do we see? They've given us the next number. They told us it was negative 4. Is negative 4 the opposite of 4? Yes, it is. What will the next number be? It's going to be negative 5. Now it should be coming a little bit more natural to you. So I've got negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5. My next number is going to be negative 6 and negative 7. All right. Have a look at the next line for me. Okay, let's have a look at the next line. All right, it says, complete only the opposite integer of each number indicated on the number line. Complete only the opposite integer of each number indicated on the number line. Now, I want you to remember, what is an integer? An integer is a negative and it is a positive number. So be careful, because sometimes we like to trick you like that. Okay, so we're going to start on the left side. We're going to start right against the margin. Right. On the left side, right against the margin, my first integer here is negative 8. So what would the opposite of negative 8 be? You can tell me in the chat. What's the opposite of negative 8? Good, well done. It's going to be positive 8, hey? So where am I going to find positive 8, guys? Where am I going to find the exact opposite of positive 8? I'm going to find it on the other side of the number line. Okay, I'm going to go to the other side of the number line and I'm going to look for where I would put 8. So I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and I would find 8 over there. Okay. All right, let's read the instruction again. It says, complete only the opposite integer of each number indicated on the number line. All right, I need to ask you to please stop spamming the chat. If you're spamming the chat, Mr. Hugo is going to remove you from the lesson, okay? All right, so my next number that I've got on my number line is negative 5. So I've got negative 5. What would the opposites, or the fancy way to say it, additive inverse of negative 5 be? What would the opposite of negative 5 be? Right, tell me in the chat, what would the opposite of negative 5 be? You only need to write it once. You don't need to spam the chat. What's the opposite of negative 5? Good, it's going to be 5, guys. So I'm going to go to the opposite side of my number line, and I'm going to go and I'm going to find where 5 is. So where would 5 be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. The next one they've got there is negative 3. So where would I find negative 3? I'd find it on the opposite side. Opposite additive inverse, the fancy word, the opposite of negative 3 is 3. And now they've given me -1, the additive inverse or the opposite of -1 is 1. Are we done yet? No, we're not done, because remember, integers are also positive numbers. So now I need to come this side. On this side of the number line, they gave me 2. What's the additive inverse or the opposite of 2 going to be? The opposite of 2 is going to be -2. They gave me 4. What's the opposite of 4 or the additive inverse of 4? It's going to be -4. They gave me 6. What's the opposite or the additive inverse of 6? It's going to be -6. And finally, what's the additive inverse or the opposite of 7? It's going to be -7. Let's make sure we got all the numbers we needed on our number line. Is it complete? Yes, it is complete. Okay, so again, a reminder, integers are negative numbers and positive numbers. All right, I want you to have a look at these questions for me. All right, I am going to answer any questions if there are any. I don't see any hands raised at the moment. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm going to answer any questions if there are any while you're having a look at answering these questions for me that are up on your screen. So, Kolofelo, how can I help?
Ma'am.
Kolofelo, you unmuted?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please go to number 2?
Number 2, the one we just did. Okay. Number 2. Yes, Kolofelo, which one do you need help with?
Ma'am, not the number line, number 2D.
Number 2D.
Yes,
Okay, I
ma'am.
will bring the screen back, everybody. Yes, -101.
Yes, ma'am. I don't understand how you did it.
Okay, so what's the opposite of -101, Kolofelo? What's the opposite of a negative, Kolofelo?
Plus.
A positive, good. So the opposite of -101 will be
Positive.
positive 101.
1.
That's it.
Oh, okay.
That's
Bye.
all we
Thank you,
did.
ma'am.
You're welcome. Okay, you can ask Mr. Hugo questions in the chat, everybody. All right.
Yes.
Momo? Momo Lefo? Momo Lefe?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, how can I help?
Ma'am, can I ask some question for number 1, the number line?
Sure, what do you need help with on the number line?
I wanted to ask, after the -4, could you go like from 5, 6, or from 1 to 4?
Okay, so after -4, yeah?
From -4, can you do like -5, 6, or you should do -1 and 2?
Okay, so the way that I've done it here, so you get 0, then you get -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7. So the number line must be the opposite of the way that you would do it on the other side.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Right, I'm answering one more question and I'm going to go back to our questions that are on the board. So, Dimple?
Ma'am?
Yes, how can I help?
Okay, I'm struggling question number 3.
Question number 3. Okay, but Dimple, I'm going to do it with you now. Remember, I said to you guys must just try and then I'm going to do them with you now, okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so let's try Evan. Evan, what's your question?
Ma'am, I'm just saying I came late, but in the exams, ma'am, do
Yeah.
we just, if it's a time sum, Do you also say the negative of it if it's a negative sum?
So Evan, we're going to do multiplication next week, Monday. So there will be a lesson next week, Monday, and we're going to have a look at multiplying integers next week, Monday. Okay, so I think Monday or Wednesday. I know that on Wednesday, we're going to do adding negatives. Then on Monday, we're going to do subtracting. And then next week, Wednesday, we're going to do multiplying.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, you're welcome. We're just going to go through it nice and slowly, okay? All right, so I'm going to answer one more question to see if that relates to today's lesson, and then we're going to carry on. So one day. So one day you unmuted. How can I help?
Miss, if you say you must answer on the chat, how do you do it?
How do you answer on the chat? Okay, you need to write in there. So there's a chat function there. Okay, where it says chat, and you can write your answer there. You can type your answer out. Okay. All right, can you see it there, Zwande?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, everybody. So I'm going to carry on, and then I'll answer some questions again a little bit later. So what is the number to the right of 0? So if I go to my number line that I've got here, the number that's to the right of 0 is the number 1. Okay, well done to those of you who got it. Good. So the number that's to the right of 0 is the number 1. What is the number to the left of 0? The number to the left of 0 is -1. Well done. Well done to those of you who got it. Good. Okay. Now, this one's a little bit trickier. So here we go. What will the 5th number to the right of 3 be? What will the 5th number to the right of 3 be? So let's go look. So I'm going to use my number line that I've got here. So here's my number 3. Okay, and I want to go 5 numbers to the right of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to be the number 8. All right, I'm seeing lots of correct answers there. Now it says, what will the 5th number to the left of 3 be? What will the 5th number to the left of 3 be? So let's go to the number 3. Let's circle him again. We're going to do him in green this time. Okay, and we need to go 5 numbers to the left of 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see that my answer will be -2. So well done to those of you who did that one. -2. Congratulations. Okay, always, always, always use your number line, everybody, to help you. That's what's going to help you. All right. And finally, what is the opposite of 4? So we're going back to the beginning of our lesson. What's the opposite of 4? It's going to be -4. Congratulations. Well done. -4. Okay, fantastic. So I really think we need a brain break after all of that. All right. So let's have a look at our challenge for today. So well done, everybody, on those. Congratulations. I'm going to bring our challenge up for today. And while you're busy with your challenge and you're having a look for a few minutes, I'm going to answer some questions. So have a look at the challenge for me. I'm going to answer some questions that we might be having. And then we will, I'll chat to you in a few minutes while you have a look at that, and we will look at the challenge. Okay, Kwanda, how can I help? Kwanda, how can I help you? Unmuted? Okay, Kwanda, we will come back to you. I just have Zoom user here. How can I help? You are unmuted.
Me?
Yes, you.
Oh, hi.
Hi, how can I help?
I'm good. So, ma'am,
Yeah.
add I was confused at number 6.
Number 6. Okay, let me go back to it quickly and get the question. I will bring this back for you guys right now, everybody. So you were confused at number 6, the 5th number to the left of 3.
Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
so I'm going to do it on the side here while everybody's busy working. Okay, so here is my number line, hey?
Yes.
All right. Here is the number 3. Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
How do I get to 3? Well, here is 2, here was 1, here was 0. Oh, I've run out of space. Let me draw another one. Let me draw a bigger one. Okay, let's draw a bigger number line quickly. Let's find some more space for it because I can see people are really working hard on this, so I don't want to move it out the way. Okay, so bigger number line. So I have 3, then I have 2, then I have 1, then I have 0, -1, -2, -3. Are we happy with just those numbers up? Is that okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you agree that I was at 3, hey?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Now, if I'm moving left, do you agree I'm moving that away, hey?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm moving that away on my number line. All right. So if I'm moving that away, how many spaces that away left did they tell me to go?
5.
5 spaces. Good. So if I'm moving 5 spaces, I'm going to move 1. Now where am I? If I move 1, I'm at
2.
2. Good. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Hey? So if I
Yes,
move
ma'am.
5 spaces left, where do I end up?
-2.
I end up at -2.
Yes, ma'am.
Does it make sense?
Why, like,
Thank
shouldn't
you.
we have -3?
Shouldn't we be at -3?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
And count
but think about it. If we're at -3, then how many spaces do we need to move?
5.
Is it 5 or is it 6? Let's just check. So if we're going to be at -3, let's use my highlighter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 spaces would get me to -3. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. How many spaces did I need to go to?
Ma'am?
How many spaces did they tell me to go?
5.
5 spaces. And how many spaces did I go to get to when I moved 5 spaces? Where did I get to? I got to -2.
2.
Hey?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
All right. So we got to be careful. We got to make sure we're using the right amount of spaces.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. All right, I'm going to answer one more question and then I'm going to do the quiz with you guys. So, Dakalopeto?
Ma'am, I was about to ask the same thing.
Okay, does it make sense now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right. I just want to share my screen with you guys again because it seems to have gone off. So let's just share our screen again. Apologies, everybody. I know that you can't see my screen at the moment. It will be back, right? Let's put the screen back for you. Okay. All right, let's finish off. Okay, so let's have a look at our quiz for today. So if I'm looking at my quiz, all right, the first thing that I'm going to look at when I look at this quiz is I'm going to say to myself, okay, to do this quiz, all right, if I look at the very first line, I've got 3 things and I don't know what they are. So I've got the cookie and the cake and the cupcake, and that gives me 70. I don't know how to get that. If I look at my second line, I've got 10 minus a cake gives me a cake. Well, that makes my life a little bit easier because 10 minus one thing will give me the same thing. Do you agree that if I had to take 10 and I had to subtract, let's use a thicker line, I had to subtract 5, would that not equal 5. 10 minus 5, does that not give me 5? All right, so are we happy to say that the cake is equal to 5? All right, I'm happy to say that the cake is equal to 5. I hope that you're happy to say that the cake is equal to 5. That's what I got when I did it. Okay, I am unfortunately not able to see your chatter. There we go. At the moment, okay. So I know that it might be a bit challenging, but let's have a look and carry on going. All right, so far I've got that the cake is equal to 5. So now I can go fill in all my cakes. So I've got a cake here, and I've got a cake here. So I've got a cookie divided by 5 is equal to 8. So in other words, something divided by 5 gives me 8. Who can tell me in the chat what divided by 5 equals 8? Good, Tando. Tando was the fastest one there. Okay, 40. 40 divided by 5 gave me 8. Nice, Tando. So far, I've got that the cookie is equal to 40. All right. And the cake is equal to 5. Nice. I'm seeing lots of people answering me there. Good. Well done. So now I've got 40 plus 5 times by a cupcake equals 70. Okay. So let's finish them off. Could I maybe go up to the top here, okay, and say to myself, all right, 40 plus something times by a cupcake equals 70. All right. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take 40 away from both sides because that's going to help me out a little bit. All right. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say, all right, if I take 40 away from this side, okay, so minus 40 from this side, and I go and I minus 40 from this side, that gives me 50. So in other words, 5 times by what gives me 50? 5 times what gives me 50? 5 times by what? 5 times what gives me 50, everybody? 5 times what? Good, 5 times 6. So what you should have had for today's challenge is we should have had that the cake will give me 5, the cookie gives me 40, and the cupcake will give me 6. All right, I know that it was a really nice challenge for today. It was challenging, okay? Mr. Hugo is going to put today's quiz up for you. So not your quiz for the week, because that happens on a Wednesday, but the poll, sorry. So there will be a poll up now. Please remember that you need to answer the poll before you leave. All right, you need to answer the poll before you leave. I am going to be logging out of this lesson. Mr. Hugo will be in the lesson still, okay? But please make sure you answer the poll and then you are welcome to leave the lesson. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Hugo. I will see you all on Wednesday. Wednesday again at 5 o'clock, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. T. If anybody has any further questions, I will be answering some questions, those that I can. Ndine?
Hi.
Hi, Ndine. What's your question?
So what must we pick? Anything, or we have to first read the question?
Sorry, just ask that again, please.
I'm saying like we have to answer them. We have to answer. Must we first read, then after that we can answer?
Yes, we must always first read the question so that it is more clear to us what we need to answer. Does that help?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much. Ompile, do you have a question for me?
No, yet. Yes, sir.
Okay, how can I help you?
So for the for the boot camp that's happening this Saturday, do we have to pay for it?
Yes, the boot camp, there is a price connected to the boot camp. It is 99 Rand. So you can just WhatsApp the Watobe number and they will give you more details. Okay.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be
Bye,
very
sir.
helpful. It's going to be very helpful for exams. Hello. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye. Thank you. Okay. Nandi.
Sir,
Hi there. How can I help you?
hi, sir. For the boot camp, sir, we are doing it online.
Yes, the boot camp will be online exactly as our usual classes. It's just going to be on a Saturday. And we have to pay extra for that. And we're going to do, the class is going to be a bit different. We're going to do some exam revision. But for the rest part, it's also going to be online, same as all the other classes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, everybody, before I take another question, please remember to answer the poll that is up on your screen before you leave, okay? And you are welcome to leave if you don't have any questions or if you have answered the poll. Okay, Rijame.
Hello, sir. So
Hi there.
I have a question. So you see, with
Yes.
algebra, right? So I know we did it
Yes.
like last week, Wednesday. Is it like, will we ever do it again? Or it's just like we learn something, then we move on, and then from there we move on to like different subjects every single time, or we're gonna learn the same subjects over and over, but later during the year?
Okay, so we will be spending sometimes a week, sometimes 2 or 3 weeks on a subject, but we do have different subjects. So the subject that we ended with last week, we will only look at again next year.
Next year.
Yes, whenever you or later in the year, if you do exponents again, we will then look at exponents again. But for now, this is all you need to know about exponents that we ended with last week. That's why we will not be doing more on exponents right now. So that subject has ended and we're now starting with integers, which will be about 2 or 3 weeks long.
Okay. So,
Okay,
sir.
thank you. Okay, Dimple,
Sir,
hello.
sir, after the exponent, is there underline? Do we minus or plus?
For exponents,
Yes.
okay, ask your question again regarding exponents.
Do we plus or minus?
Are you talking about a lesson of last week? Because we finished with exponents last week. This week is
What
integers.
exponent like this week? What is it again?
Integers.
Yeah, integers. Do we plus or minus? Is it like the degrees?
Okay, so integers can be a positive or a negative number. If they ask you for the opposite or the inverse of a positive number, then you give the negative number. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So it's not necessarily plus or minus. It's dependent on whether they ask you for the inverse or not. Okay?
Okay, bye, sir.